Welcome to the Be in Demand podcast, brought to you by How to Be a Great Podcast Guest. We designed this program to help people just like you add maximum value as a guest, get invited back, and be referred to other hosts. Visit beagreatguest.com to get started. And now, here's the show.
You know that I'm all about converting the audience, which means offering them something at the end of your presentation so that they just want to shoot their hand up and say, me. Well, how do you know what to offer the audience? What if you can't sell something at the end of your presentation? What if you can't pitch yourself? Well, how about getting people to join your email list with something very simple like a quiz? Got your attention now. My guest today is Linda Sidhu, and we are going to be talking about using a quiz as your lead magnet for when you are speaking. Let's get on to the show.
You're listening to Be in Demand, the podcast for honest advice, inspiring stories, and ideas for growing your business by leveraging the expert that you are. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, business mentor, and I'm also a reformed painfully shy girl, red wine lover, and exercise enthusiast. Join me as I share how being positioned as the expert in your industry, even if it's a busy one, will help you stand out and be the one in demand to hire and work with.
Okay, Linda, thank you so much for joining me and coming on the show and sharing your brilliance with my audience.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here.
So if you can just tell my audience who you are.
Yeah, so I'm
Linda.
I'm Linda Sidhu, and I am known in the industry as the quiz queen. Some people refer me to. I didn't self-proclaim that, but it was just a title that was given to me, and it was fun. So I said, I'm gonna own that. That sounds great. But what had brought me here, how I kind of got my foot in the door with creating quizzes, is 10 years ago, I was in the pharmaceutical industry. My company at the time taught me the DISC personas. So we divided people's personas up into 4 different quadrants per se. And it was really, are you task-oriented or are you people-oriented? And are you fast-paced or slower-paced with your decisions? And then you fall into one quadrant over the other. If you don't know DISC, that's essentially like what it is. And once I understood the personas, then I would go into the doctor's office and I would try to communicate in a way that they preferred. So if it was a dominant doctor who's task-oriented and super fast, I knew I had to be efficient with his time and give him options on how he would use my products because I knew I could never tell him what to do. And then if he was the opposite type of doctor, he or she was the opposite, this would look a little different. I would schedule lunches. I would spend time to build my know, like, and trust factor. I would invite them to dinners so they could hear the dominant doctors speak about my products and how they're using it. And eventually, after 3 years, they would finally prescribe my acne drug or whatever. So you can see that one's going to move fast, one's going to move a little slower. And if you really pay attention to people's relationships and how to communicate with them, they're going to prefer a certain way because some get to the point, and some people are like, hey, I want a low pressure approach. You need to tone it down.
True.
Right?
I used to do this in leadership as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I've taught the DISC personality profile system, in group settings. And it's simple. It's 2 questions.
So simple. Yeah.
Are you fast paced? Are you slow paced? And I would make them go to the side of the room, to right, left, and then front and back would be just are you about people or are you about your to-do list?
Right.
And then you see the 4 different groups. And then you can tell by the way that people dress, which is a whole other episode.
That's awesome. A lot of people, when I ask them straight out of the gate, what they think they are, they don't know. They're like, I feel like I have all those qualities, which is true. We have all those qualities within us. It's just, if you take the official assessment, it's 100 questions and they ask you different ways. So that way they keep asking you the same question, but in a different way. And then the assessment, if they don't know your answer, they're going to actually add more questions in. So you don't know it's happening, but they really do try to evaluate which quadrant you fall into. And then you get your quadrant. But at the end of the day, we do have all those qualities within us. We just end up in one quadrant over the other. And so fast forward how I got into quizzes. So I was really successful in pharmaceutical sales. I was like top 10 because I was really careful about how I communicated and how I sold. And because of that, I was always in the top 10 sales. And so when I retired from pharmaceutical sales, when I had my son, I stayed home for about 5 years. When he went into kindergarten, I launched my own business because I wanted to have a flexible job, stay at home, be there to support my son. But I also wanted to exercise my brain. I enjoyed marketing, communication. So I wanted to do something. And that's when I created a quiz. And it was based on the disc because I was like, well, this is the only way I know how to communicate with people. And even though I was focusing on email marketing at the time, within 3 months, it was very clear that I should focus on the top of funnel and just help entrepreneurs with quizzes because my quiz did extremely well. It even caught the eye of Interact, the quiz platform, who reached out to me to be like, why is it converting so high? And I ended up becoming a strategic partner with them. And then before I knew it, I had a quiz program and was creating quizzes. And that's where we are today.
Some of that I knew and some of that I didn't know, but either way, it's all very relevant. And I'm going to make sure down in the show notes that we direct people to a DISC personality profile quiz so that they can figure out what they are and hopefully be just as surprised with their answers and maybe even enlightened. But let's just move on to this. Quizzes, lead magnet. The first, I know what a lead magnet is, but for the people who aren't in the online space and have lead magnets, can you just define what a lead magnet is?
Yeah, a lead magnet is when you want to attract the right leads to your offer. So if you create a really good lead magnet, essentially you're going to want to have a validated offer first and work backwards from that. Mm-hmm. So an example that I'm going to use is just myself. When my offer was to help create quizzes. I can do them for you. And I have a quiz lab course that you can take and we can do it together. So that's the option. So from there, I know that, these audiences are different ideal clients. So the people who do it with me are typically not, the people who hire me to do it for them. They're the dominant doctor that we talked about before. They're fast-paced, take risks, they land on their feet, they're super busy, they're always doing something, they have the extra money, they've validated everything, and they're just like, just do it for me. And so that lead magnet, I don't actually have a lead magnet for that person for quizzes because it's basically a discovery call and it takes 20 minutes and I just tell them the options at that point because I already know that they've decided to work with me, right? But I really focus on the lead magnet for my course, right? So this is the course, the quiz lab. And so I really have to work backwards from that person. And these people are not further along like the dominant people. I wouldn't say that they're established. They are probably 1 to 3 years in business. So then, you really have to attract those types of leads. You have to attract in the title of your lead magnet the low-hanging fruit. So for example, with quizzes work really well for this. I had a client that was a beautiful case study where she was a coach. And it was like, what type of coach are you? Because you could be a coach for anything. Well, finally, she was like, I'm going to focus on people who have ADHD because she had recently just got diagnosed with ADHD. So her quiz title was, what's your ADHD superpower? So when you put that in front of the right audience, right, where you're trying to attract them in, and she was selling a course on how to help her clients with ADHD, right, to see it as a superpower. And so either people identify with having ADHD or they don't, but that's the lead magnet. And as an example, going back to me with my quiz title is Discover Your Quiz to Cash Strategy. So got the quiz title in there where it's like, do you want a quiz? Like if you are interested in creating a quiz funnel, find out what your personal strategy should be. And so I go straight after the low-hanging fruit versus worrying about people who don't know what quizzes are, you know what I mean? And the other thing is when you can get really clear on your leads, my very first quiz question is, what do you identify with? Are you a coach? Are you a course creator? Are you a copywriter, service provider, or other? And to this day, the number one person who's joining my quiz or taking my quiz is a coach. So again, just knowing that information, it's like, okay, I want to get in front of audiences that have more coaches. So think about podcasts that might be, for example, Dallas Travers, Coaches on a Mission, right? That is specific for coaches. So then you can put your lead magnet right in front of your ideal clients. But essentially, going back to your original question, the lead magnet is what you put in front of your audience so that they can understand, they identify with it, they're intrigued, they download it, they take the quiz, and then you can onboard them into your community and support their needs. And you do this with email marketing.
Are you ready to leverage speaking as your best form of marketing? There are over 7,500 events looking for speakers every single day. Speaking positions you as the expert in the room, but you probably don't know where to start. So I created this great resource called the Directory of Places to Speak. This resource will help you get started today. So head on over to speakandstandout.com/directory to grab your free copy now. Don't miss this opportunity to be the expert speaking to audiences filled with your ideal clients.
And then you have a welcome series typically, and then you have them join your newsletter. So eventually you could support them with a type of service you have. But there has to be a clear, quiz to quiz lab. ADHD superpower to an ADHD course. It has to match.
It has to match. I love that. And, just to summarize the lead magnet for everybody, it's this sort of exchange. It's like I'm going to give you these results for taking the quiz, and you are going to give me your email address so I can send you those results, and then also share other things with you, like the nurture sequence and also other offerings that I might have so that I can help you along with your business. But I do love quizzes, for so many reasons. I don't have one yet, but I love them. I think that people love to take them because they love assessments. I know that I'm one of those people. I love assessments. I love learning about myself. And it's a great way to put people into different categories so that you do know how to talk to them. So one question I have before we move on, because I have seen a lot of people put lead magnets out there, and a lot of them just don't work. I'm sure that you have people just hey, my lead magnets don't work, so I'm going to try this quiz thing. Why do you think a lot of these other type of lead magnets, why do you think that they fail?
So a lot of lead magnets fail because people just, at this point, don't have the time and capacity to take more information on. So if you're offering an ebook or something that just seems like a lot, like a PDF download, where you're going to, they download it, it goes to their email address, but oftentimes they're so busy that they don't have a chance to open it and see what it is. Where a quiz, people actually want to go to their email at their inbox to see what their results are. So they're eager and they're coming in hot with your community when you have a quiz. The other thing is, I really just think people are overwhelmed and they don't have the time or the capacity to deal with it. So when it comes to quizzes, it just takes a few seconds. People are intrigued. They want to go back to their email and they want to look at it. And I know that we're going to talk about conversion rates. And this is why quizzes convert higher than other lead magnets.
When we say conversion rates, we're talking about for the people who don't understand or don't know, they come to a page where they're going to take the quiz, and it's conversion rate, did they take the quiz or did they not take the quiz? Is that what conversion rate that we're talking about right here?
So the conversion rate for quizzes, when somebody takes the quiz, they answer your questions and they give you your email address. Mm-hmm. Those are typically higher than conversion rates for a PDF download, ebooks, other options. Because people are going to look at the PDF download and it's not that enticing anymore because they don't have time, they're overwhelmed. But with a quiz, it's entertaining, they get excited, they like giving their answers, they like people asking them questions, it's way more engaging. When people are offered to take a quiz and they're interested in it and they're raising their hand because they identify with what the title is, they're excited to give you the information in exchange for their email address. So the conversion rate is the percentage where people, let's say you put it in front of 100 people, A good conversion rate for a lead magnet is typically 25%. So if you can get a PDF in front of 100 people and 25 people take it, that is considered good in the industry. According to Interact, the quiz platform, quizzes are at 40%. Okay.
Oh,
so
double.
40%. And
Yeah.
typically I can get my clients anywhere between 40 and 70%. So that way, if the quiz is in front of 100 people, I can get 40 to 70 people to take that quiz and give you their email address and convert as a new lead versus 25%, which is on average the best for other lead magnets. Does that make
Well,
sense?
no wonder why the company reached out to you. Yes, that makes perfect sense. And it's also making me think of the days where I spoke on leadership. You're right. Like, it's like, hey, people would raise their hand and give me their email address, and I would send them this PDF. And I'm sure it sounded like a great idea at the time. But by the time they left the event, got either back to their office or maybe even which could have been like a couple of days to a week later, depending on the event, you're right. It may not feel like a good idea anymore. This is just another reason why quizzes are, I think, so wonderful.
Yeah, because you're already interacting with them from the get-go. They've already taken the steps to answer questions. And that's really interesting, in my opinion, because if you send out a survey to your audience, a lot of people won't answer it, but people still opt into those quizzes. And which is interesting because you're lowering the gate, you know what I mean? Where they're willing to interact with you right off the bat with a quiz. And so to get that interaction and create that engagement, that's a big deal.
Huge deal. And so after they take the quiz, they're going to a result page, or is the only way to get their results via email?
So it goes straight to a result page, which is typically a landing page, which I prefer. So, it has a landing page with your brand. It tells them the results that you're offering to give them. In their email, they also get an email with the landing page link. So if they want to go back to it, they can check it out as well.
Very nice. Okay. So we kind of talked about one of the personality types. Really, we dove into the D. They're very quick deciding. They're risk takers. It sounds very familiar to the woman that I see in the mirror. But I'm also, I consider myself to be a capital D, but also a lowercase I. Can you share with my audience, the different characteristics of the DISC model?
Absolutely. So if you are to take a quiz and get results that's going to help you speak on stage and get a standing ovation, and that's your primary goal, basically, if we divide you up into 4 different personas, what that might look like is the dominant entrepreneur is really the visionary. They're the trailblazer. They're the one with the big ideas. And these entrepreneurs, if they were to take a quiz that was specific for speaking and how to take the stage and leverage your personality, what they would do is they would go on stage and they just need to be direct. They are very charismatic. They need to be themselves. And typically they're going to emerge as the leader anyway. And whether it's on stage, whether it's with their peers, whether it's in their family, that's just their personality. So they can take the stage in full confidence and do their thing. The thing that they need to be careful of is they still need to pull in some emotion with their audience if they want to get that standing ovation. So typically this persona gets straight to the point, but they also need to think about the people in the audience and make sure they're also evoking emotion with their speech. And if they do that, they'll get their standing ovation. That's persona number 1. Persona number 2 is technically the influencer if we're going off a DISC. The influencer is people-oriented. They're fast action takers. I call this the entertainer. So Tony Robbins, people who are comedians, they're the ones that are going to take the stage. They might have a joke that's going to land well, hopefully. And it kind of just breaks the awkwardness for everybody, right? And or they might use the stage. They might walk around a lot and use their nonverbals, use their hands, really get into it. These people are going to be that persona because that's leveraging that strength. They're working the audience. Maybe they're going through the crowd, right? They're bringing in the people into the speech. But what they need to be aware of is any type of claim that they share, you want to make sure to back up that claim and where you heard that information. So oftentimes the entertainer can say, well, this is the best restaurant or whatever, but where's the proof that that was the best restaurant? Was it on the top 25 list from the New York Times or whatever? You need to state those things to have the proof to back up your claims. So if you can do that in a speech, you can work the audience, you can be yourself, you can entertain, you can joke around if you want to. But if you're to get the researchers and the analytical people, if you're going to state anything, make sure you back up that claim. And then the next persona is very heart-centered. They are like have you ever had a dinner party where somebody stayed behind and they helped you clean up? Like they're that persona, like the loyal best friend. I call them very heart-centered entrepreneurs or heart-centered speakers. Typically, this is actually the persona that is going to take to the stage. And the reason why is because they want to change the world. They really care about climate change. They really care about gun control. They care about their children, right? So they have something that they're very, very passionate about, and they're going to take this stage to share it with the world, and they're going to create a movement that way. But again, with this type of personality, they just need to make sure that if they're efficient with the time, they're not too long-winded, that their story's not too long. They need to be able to captivate all the audience and get to the point as well. So if they can do that, they can get a standing ovation and really feel good about their speech. The last persona is the task-oriented, slower-paced person. This is like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, like very analytical. I call them the researcher, just to kind of give it like a title. And this type of personality might actually sit on a stool versus working the stage and try to be like the entertainer when they're not that persona, right? They might actually just stand or sit on a stool, but they're going to be very even-tempered. They're going to share their thoughts, but these people are experts. And when they take the stage, they really care about what their peers think. So they're going to spend years and years of research before they ever get on that stage to prove their point, because they want to make sure they're doing it right and they're saying the right things. So they're experts, they're analyzers, they're researchers. And so if they want to try to take the stage and get a standing ovation, they just need to be themselves. They can sit on the stool, but they also need to be aware to capture a standing ovation, to try a little bit to get, maybe some movement in there, maybe, but they don't have to be somebody they're not. And at the end of the day, going back to, what speakers need to do is they always need to just focus on their strengths and leverage that. And at the minimal, don't worry about what other people are like. Don't try to be someone you're not. And if you can go and take the stage and just be yourself, more often than not, you're going to get a standing ovation anyway.
I love that. I'm a firm believer that there are two sides to every coin. And just like you so beautifully shared with us, like, here's what they're like, but here's what they have to look out for. It's kind of like that's the other side of the coin. So thank you for sharing that. And so for everybody like that's listening to this, think about your ideal client and like how you can use what she just shared, to almost like put people into like those different categories as you start thinking about the quiz that you might want to actually put together. When you want to create a quiz, like what is the first thing or the first couple of things that you should think about before like diving in to creating the questions and all the goodness?
Yeah, I think the number one thing you need to do is have a validated offer and work backwards from that offer to attract the right leads to it. And when I say validated, you need to have like a couple people who've purchased it to say, okay, my ideal client is this person. They've purchased it, which that means to me, if I'm going to spend a lot of time creating a quiz, then I'm going to, make sure that I attract the right lead to this offer. Oftentimes I see people not have a validated offer, but they're going to create a quiz anyway. And it just doesn't make sense, because why would you want to get hundreds of people to this offer when you don't even know if it's going to work or convert yet? So I say, if you want to create a quiz, and the reason why I say this is because quizzes take a decent bit of time to set up. They're no joke. If you want to do it right and you want to be intentional about it, it could take 8 to 12 weeks to do. It's a big project. I actually think a quiz is a bigger project than overhauling your website. and having
I
new
would
pages.
say that too.
Like it is a massive project. And so if you want to go into it and spend the right time and get a quiz that's going to attract the right leads, you better make sure that that offer is converting. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, it sounds like, yes, it's a big investment in time, but it's also going to serve you and your business, and your course or your offer, for many, many months and years to follow.
100%. And I do want to mention that's why I love quizzes so much. They can be a lead magnet that's a lifetime for your business versus other things that maybe like bundles, or summits, they have a date and they have an end date and you can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
So with quizzes, nothing against summits and bundles. I'm just saying that you can, if you do it right, you can have it for the lifetime of your business and you can repurpose it in different areas. It doesn't always have to be a lead magnet. You could use it as a tool on the back end. I do know that I did create a quiz for a speaker, and when she gets a client and she onboards them, she uses it as a tool to help her understand what that client's personality is. And then she helps get them to feel confidence to lean into their strengths. So you can use it as a tool. You can use it in the back end of your business. It's very versatile.
I like that. And one of the reasons why I tell speakers that hey, consider a quiz, especially if I have clients or students who already have a quiz. I'm like, it's so easy to just rattle that URL off from the stage. Like, hey, everybody, go to, and this is not a valid URL. I'm just going to use my own website as an example, speakandstandout.com/quiz.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can tell so many people that or have it up on a slide. And that's just so easy instead of go here, and download this or this PDF if you're interested. Anyways, how do you personalize that landing page after they've taken the quiz?
Okay, so the landing page after someone's taken the quiz, it's almost like a sales page. And what you do is you take them on the journey. First of all, you share what persona they are. So let's say they're the entertainer, right? Like, okay, you're the entertainer, you can take the stage. You really stroke their ego and make them feel proud about who they are. Tell them they're charismatic, that people love them, and that, they're the life of the party and they can share great jokes that land well. And that's what makes them who they are and why people are going to be eager to hear them speak. It's because of who they are, right? So you really, really focus on their ego. You make sure that they feel that the result that they're getting sounds like them, right? And by doing that, you have to go through the series of questions to make sure that they're answering it correctly. But then they get the entertainer. Then after they get their result, if you scroll down the landing page, you also want to acknowledge where they are. Maybe they're scared to speak. Maybe they took the quiz because that's a goal for them, for the following year, but they also haven't done it. So just really acknowledging where they are, like, hey, I get it. And even you could even use the entertainer joke and share that Jerry Seinfeld quote where it's like, what is it? Most people's biggest fear is to speak versus die. So people would rather be in the casket at a funeral than doing the eulogy or whatever. Right. And so anyway, you can share that on your quiz landing page and joke around, use their personality like, hey, and what that's doing is it's making people relate to you. And it's also exposing their pain points and what they're scared of. Right. And so you're meeting them where they are. And so I encourage people to have a section where we really meet them where they are and we go over their pain points, how they're feeling, things that they're scared of, and then we debunk it right after that. Right after we acknowledge, speaking is really scary and we get it, but here's why it's not so bad. And then we turn it on its head. And then there's always a section of okay, when it comes to speaking, if you think about it, all the platforms are leveraging people speaking, IG Lives, YouTube, podcasts, you name it. And you can give all these examples. And then you can even tell people, and guess what? The best speakers are usually mediocre. The good people haven't even had a chance to put themselves out there. So even if you're doing the bare minimum, you're still going to be doing just as good as everybody else. And so you really just normalize it, right? So there's always a section of debunking the fear and, all that good stuff. And then we get into the imagine if, where we say, but imagine if you actually did take the stage. And imagine if you got that standing ovation and people were clapping for you and you walked off that stage and you said, damn, I want to do that again. And so you really get them in the place where they can do it. And imagining that they can do it. And that's when you introduce your bio and who you are and how you can help them. And, you can also have a call to action on there. It says book a call if you're interested in creating your keynote speech. You could also do, here's a link to a webinar. If you have some type of course that's on automation, you could say, join this challenge, whatever you want, have a call to action for them to take the next step.
Oh, wow. To talk about dissecting that result page, thank you very much. That was like a mini masterclass in and of itself. This whole episode has been like a masterclass. Okay, this has been really, really helpful. So we've talked about why you want a quiz, the different personalities, understanding those different personalities, how many questions, by the way? Because you did earlier say it should only take a couple of minutes.
Yeah, so I say 9 to 10 questions, nothing more than 10.
Okay. And I've heard you talk about quizzes before. And I also remember you saying, like, this stood out in my mind, that a couple of the questions, how did you word it? We're kind of fun not necessarily putting you into a category, but just like fun other type of random questions.
Yeah. There's 3 types of questions I like to ask on the quiz. One of them is personality, so we can nail your personality. And I usually like to have 5 personality questions. Then I like to have a couple research questions. A research question was, what do you identify with? Are you a coach, course creator? So that way you can get a better understanding of who's coming into your audience and what they identify with. And that's great for research for you. So any type of research question is great. I usually like 1 or 2 research questions. And then I do engaging questions, which is what you're talking about. These are softball questions. Basically, I position them between hard questions. So if you're making people think too long, if you're asking a research question or you're trying to get their personality nailed, sometimes you're making them think. And if you make people think too long over and over and over again, they're going to click out of the quiz because it's too much on them. And quizzes are also supposed to be fun. So you want to have like some softball questions that have not, it has to be on theme. It could be like, if you're doing a speaking tour, what cities would you want to travel to? What city is number 1 on your list? It could be Paris, London, you name it, New York City, whatever. Like, it really has nothing to do with what they're getting as a result. It's just more like, this is a no-brainer question. Let's help you get through this quiz and let me nail your personality so I can give you the right result.
I love that. Thank you very much. And that was the word that I was looking for, was engaging questions. Okay. What are the most common quiz mistakes that you see people making?
Yes, there's a lot of mistakes I see people make. First of all, this is not on the list, but I just think we already sort of alluded and started to talk about it. But quizzes are no joke. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are like, oh, I can just whip up a quiz, no problem. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to create a quiz. And it's like, and it's fine, but it probably won't be a lifetime for your business lead magnet. The hardest working employee, I always call the quizzes, is your hardest working employee, to attract the right leads, onboard them correctly, and nurture them and all the things, if you're just whipping it up. So be mindful that quizzes, they can take a decent bit of time if you want to do it right and create it for the lifetime of your business. But some things I see too is people who don't have a welcome series. Oftentimes people will create the quiz and then that's it. They don't do the second half by welcoming them in, nurturing them. And what happens is the welcome series actually holds a lot of magic. People don't realize this, but this is where you can really, because people are coming in hot, they're engaged, they're excited at this point. They've already interacted with you. And if you just send them to their newsletter, there's a total disconnect and there's no communication. So you do need to nurture them, build your know, like, and trust factor, tell them a little bit about you, validate them, let them know they're in the right place. There is a couple pieces of communication. And then you also want to start trickling in call to actions like, hey, book a call if you're interested. Hey, are you interested in creating a quiz? You could use a 9-word email and say, book a call here. I've got a spot open March. You know what I mean? Like, you can start utilizing them to take action versus just sending them to a newsletter. So make sure you have a welcome series. Second is, oftentimes people use platforms like Try Interact, for example, and they use that landing page. It's very cookie cutter. It's very generic. It's not branded. Yes, you can create the quiz on Interact and use that landing page, but I advise against it. I want you to create your own landing page that's connected to your website, that has your own branding. It'll make you look way more professional if you do it that way. So that's another mistake. Of course, you're going to have to use a quiz platform like Interact or Involve.me to do the questions and to integrate it, but it needs to not be on that platform, in my opinion. It needs to come onto your website and make it look really professional. Another thing is people don't know how to promote it very, very well. Like they'll spend a lot of time creating a quiz and they say if they build it, people will come. Well, that's not the case. You really need to put a lot of energy into it. You need to treat your quiz like it's your course you're launching. Get some affiliates, have people take it, share it through Instagram, LinkedIn, your bio, put it on your website, make it a big deal. When I had my quiz, I did a behind the scenes on how I created it in my Facebook group. Just that alone, I knew people were going to be really interested in how I created my quiz. Drive traffic to it, get people excited, do something, right? So that's another example. And I feel like I have one more, but I can't think about it. So I feel like I have
While you're thinking of that, that was fabulous, by the way. I have two other questions for you. And one is like with the nurture sequence, should it be specific to that personality persona?
Okay, so you can totally make it specific to that persona if you want to. But the problem is more than likely you're going to have to go back in and tweak the communication. So if you're doing a challenge and it's a live challenge for your course that's going to open up, once that course has enrolled and you're done, you're going to have to go back in and change all the emails again, because now the challenge is over and you want to change the call to action to maybe book a call. So you can get them on a call and be like, hey, would you like this do it yourself course, or would you like me to do it for you? Because if it's not a live challenge anymore, then you got to tweak it. So keep in mind, if you personalize everything, you're going to have to go back in and change that 4 times with all your welcome series emails. And that's a lot of work.
It sounds like
I think it's awesome if you can do it, but I see it happening with something that's on evergreen that you don't have to touch anymore versus something that's live. And it's totally doable. And I will tell you, businesses are not doing it. They're not personalizing a welcome series like that, that's super personal. But you can do, and this is what I do for my clients, is I personalize email 1. So depending on what result you get, Laurie-Ann, if you're the dominant entrepreneur and you're the trailblazer, the visionary, I'll send you that and I'll go deep into your personality and say, this is why I love you. You are going to take bold action. You're going to land on your feet. You're very charismatic, and I'll do that for each personality. But then what I'll do is the other emails in the welcome series will just get duplicated for the 4 because it's going to the same offer usually.
Okay, I love that. Thank you very much for clarifying that. And what's the future of quizzes?
Ooh, good question. I think quizzes are one of those things that's going to just continue to do really well and perform. If you think about it, quizzes, since the 80s, right? Or I don't even know when, like people would take quizzes, whether it's 17 magazine, and they would look them up and take the quiz. People are obsessed with getting to know more about themselves. Enneagram, Myers-Briggs, human design. If you want to engage with your audience, if you put anything in front of them that's going to help them learn more about their strengths and be aware of their weaknesses, they're going to do it. The other thing is trivia. Like if you think about trivia, like Tuesday trivia, there's a local place that does Tuesday trivia. Some of my neighbors go to. I was watching over the holiday 007 Path to a Million or whatever, and it was like a trivia game. Like these are things that's engaging. So I think they're going to stay, and I think they're going to continue to do well, in my opinion, because they always have.
I think it's also that anticipation of, I have to get to the end. I have to know what the answer is, like for the trivias, or I just need to know what my persona is,
and they're fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're just flat out fun. Like people need more fun in their lives. Like this, like what's going on in the world for a while now it's just heavy. And so when people, they want to do entertaining things, they want to have more fun in their life, and you're allowing them to do that, right?
Yes, yes. Linda, thank you so much. This literally has been a masterclass on quizzes. We went so deep on so many of the questions that I had. So thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with everybody. Now, I'm sure that you have a quiz that I want to encourage the audience to go and experience. Linda's quiz, I mean, since she is the quiz queen. And Linda, would you also just tell people like where they can find you?
Yes. So if you go to my website, lindasidhu.com, which I'm sure you'll share, on the front page of my website is the quiz, and it's Discover Your Quiz to Cash Strategy. If you take this quiz and you want to create a quiz for your business, it's going to literally lay out the strategy that's going to work for your personality. So you're going to work with your strengths. You can be aware of your weaknesses, but you're going to be able to have a quiz funnel strategy that's going to work for you and your offer, no matter what you're selling. And then I also have a Facebook group. I think I spend a lot more time in my Facebook group versus Instagram. So Quiz Creators is where I will definitely take the time to engage. I'm going to do some fun things this year. I always do for my Facebook group. So you can also join the Quiz Creator Facebook group.
Thank you very much for that. So everybody, all of that information is going to be down on the show notes. So go experience her quiz, go join her Facebook group, and just learn more about quizzes and really seriously consider having a quiz as that offer for when you are speaking in person, virtually, and just as the best lead magnet, engaging lead magnet that you could ever have to grow your business. So thank you very much. Until next week, go and be in demand.
Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And join me over in my private Facebook group for more tips, community, and free trainings. You'll find the link in the show notes. You can also help this podcast reach more listeners by leaving a review. And as a thank you, each month I pick one of my reviewers to win a free coaching call with me. So if you haven't done so already, please leave a review and you could be the next winner.
Hey, you're still here. I bet you're the type of person who stays in the movie theater when the credits are rolling because you know there might be something cool that pops up. Well, here it is. How to be a great podcast guest. This is the program Laurie-Ann and I created, guiding you step by step through the process of becoming, you guessed it, a great podcast guest. Clever name, right? We have been featured guests on hundreds of shows around the world and have put together all the steps that we take to help you do the same. Visit beagreatguest.com to learn more. Now, aren't you glad you stayed?